This car behind me has a superpower. Nearly every time it leaves the garage to go for a drive, it gets a thumbs up from a stranger. True story. Eva actually laughs at me for it. How was Cars and Coffee? Did a stranger give you a thumbs up? Actually, yes. The guy pulled up next to me at a red light and yelled, "Sick car, brother!" Pretty sure he just wanted to touch my butt, but don't worry about it. Whatever. The reason this car gets attention is because it looks good. And on this channel, I make videos about detailing strategies and modification advice to help you do just that with your car. Occasionally, when I've had enough caffeine, I make a roast video where I critique some of your car's appearance and let you know some ideas of how I think you can make it look better. This is like number 4 for the day, I think. Sheesh. Anyways, if you want to submit your car to be critiqued by me, there's a link down below in the description. Kicking it off with Randy, who has a BMW 330 Ci convertible M. The paint has blemishes from being parked under a tree. He's tried machine polishing, maybe they're permanent, been repainted twice after 2 medium deer collisions a year apart. Man, I hope you don't buy lottery tickets because your luck sucks. Nice looking car, by the way. Oh, we got a little bit of a photog on our hands here, huh? A little artsy with the sunset. Obviously, you're a fan of the OEM look because you just upgraded to stock wheels from another model and the rest is all untouched. So I'm not going to tell you to modify your car if that's not your thing. If anything, I often tell people to stop modifying their cars because they're just making it worse. I'm assuming because you're saying that it was parked under a tree that we're dealing with tree sap. And I could be wrong. I guess it could be like pine needles or even just like wet leaves that stuck on there for a long time or something. But let's just assume that it's tree sap. Can you feel it on top of the surface, or is it just the sort of like the etching that is left behind after you have removed the sap? The longer it stays on the surface, the harder it is to remove. On the car that I used for the Ultimate Gloss Guide course, I had to take a break from filming with that because there was so much tree sap on that thing. I literally had to scrape some of the chunks off with a plastic razor blade because nothing else was getting it off, and it had been on there for a long time. For anybody watching this, if you have tree sap on your car, get it off as soon as you can. So the next thing that could be at play here is, what did you use? What was the combo that you used when you were polishing it? What type of pad, what type of compound or polish? There's a lot of different things that could have happened there. How fast were you moving the machine? How much pressure were you using? That can all kind of play a role. My suspicion though is that if it's something to do with that, you probably didn't go aggressive enough with your strategy. I think if you're dealing with something that's etched into your clear coat, something like a refinement polish or something is not going to be enough to remove it. You're going to have to compound, probably with a microfiber pad, like something like one of these guys right here that's got the fibers in it. This is gonna chew up some clear coat much better than like a soft foam pad that's meant for finishing. If you did go with a more mild setup with your polishing, I would try stepping it up and go a little bit more aggressive with that. If it's an aftermarket paint job, chances are it's fairly hard, and also they probably have a lot of clear coat on there compared to original factory paint. And the next question that I have is, when you say that you thought they were gone and then they reappeared when you see it in certain lighting, that makes me think that the lighting you're using when you are polishing your paint is not strong enough. There's a lot of people that just use like the flashlight app on their phone to inspect their paint, or like the overhead lighting in their garage, like the fluorescent tubes or something like that. That doesn't do a good enough job of mimicking the sun. So what could be happening is the conditions that you're polishing your paint in with sort of dimmer lighting, it looks like it's fine. And you're like, okay, good, I got the marks, I'm good to go. And then you take it out, like say in this picture where you were at a sunset where that low light is hitting the side of the car. That's like a spotlight, right? And so that could be revealing stuff that the lighting you polish your paint in wouldn't reveal. I did a whole separate video on that. If you want to go check it out, maybe I'll put it on the screen here. Maybe I'll just make you look for it on my channel. It's almost Easter. Who doesn't like a good treasure hunt? And the last scenario that could be happening here is that depending on how you were polishing the paint, if you were really working it for quite a while and heating it up, the paint, just like anything else, it expands with heat, right? And so those etch marks, if the paint expands, they might disappear from the heat of polishing. But then when the paint finally cools down and settles again, they might reappear. When you inspected the paint after polishing it, you might have thought that they were gone, but because you kind of overheated the paint by working it so hard, it swelled and it kind of like, it covers up the marks that are still in there. It looks like you're doing a really good job of taking care of this thing. It looks really clean and really shiny. Let's move on to the next one. Uh-oh, coffee's getting cold, better hurry up. Okay, next up we have Ryan, who wanted to be in a video so badly that you have officially submitted 2 times separately now. Not gonna lie, I respect it. And Ryan has a pretty unique vehicle, at least for here in North America, because this is a Toyota Crown Estate Athlete V. Pretty cool, right? It's a station wagon with a 1JZ. It's like a station wagon version of a Supra, I guess. So we got intake, downpipe, muffler, coilovers, angle kit. Angle kit? Is this a drift car? Like angle kit, doesn't that mean that you can like turn the wheels further to steer for like full lock drifting and stuff? Wild. And it's automatic. So is it a drift car or not a drift car? 18-inch 1998 OZ Racing wheels. I'm a little torn here. We're gonna get to this in a minute. These are the wheels in question from 1998. So they're, I guess you could say, period correct and appear to be in good condition. So with those wheels, we've got spacers added to make the fitment a little bit more flush, to bring the wheels out. In my opinion, is a good idea, like with OEM wheels, to make them fit a little bit better if you want to stay with OEM ones. But when we get to aftermarket wheels, I kind of lean more towards like just order the right sizes, order the right specs. Replaced extremely yellowed headlights and fog lights with clean ones about a year ago. That is good for you. That is such a good thing to do. That's one of the best ways to take age off of your vehicle, is to just put new headlights on. There's so many times that you can restore your headlights and sometimes they come out really good, but there's so many times that they still are not quite brand new looking. Small crack in front bumper paint from sending it too hard in a snowstorm. I know a Canadian when I see one. You go back and forth about liking the wheels. The wing and front lip is an OEM option. Okay, that's good. I was gonna ask about that. However, they're missing the OEM side skirt and the rear skirt to match. You are doing a lot of things very right. It looks clean, it's well done, especially if it's like kinda set up for drifting a little bit. It's classy, and you don't get that a lot with drift cars, that's for sure. It's so cool that this front lip is actually an OEM one, because this looks like, I mean, let me get skinny here for a second. That's an aftermarket lip on my car from Aerowear, and it kind of follows the contours of the natural body lines. It just kind of lowers it down to make it a little bit more aggressive. And that's essentially what this lip does for your car, except yours is an OEM Toyota part. How cool is that? And so what you're saying is there's a set of side skirts and rear bumper that is meant to match this. You have the spoiler to go along with this front lip right here, and it looks so good. It looks weird when the front bumper doesn't line up with the bottom of the side skirt. When they sit like this or like this, I think you can get away with leaving the body completely as it is. These roof rails or the roof rack, whatever you want to call it. So you're considering getting rid of these, and you're a little worried because it's kind of a permanent choice. I don't know, is it? Couldn't you just like put some temporary plugs to fill the holes to make sure you're not leaking water? I don't know. If you're gonna use them like for a bike rack or something like that, you gotta kind of keep them. But I mean, you got a station wagon, just put your stuff in the back, right? It's part of the beauty of a station wagon. The only reason why I say maybe you should get rid of them is because you have that spoiler. So let's go back to this picture again. If these were gone, you would just have a super sleek roof line, and then the spoiler would pop a little bit more. That might be the move. I think I would get rid of them, because like from this front 3/4 shot, you know, you got the sunroof, you got the spoiler back here, but the roof rails get all of the attention. And if they weren't there, the spoiler would be more visible and it would be sort of the star of the show. Now, the only other dilemma here is that you're struggling with the wheels. You're not sure if you want to keep the wheels. They're period correct. They suit the car technically. The styling even, the sort of like the mesh look, I think is good. Something about a flat-faced wheel design is just not quite working for me. I'm not against like flat-faced wheels. I think they have their place, and I think they look really good on, you know, like say a 90s Honda or something like that. Something like this though, you know, a rear-wheel drive car, a big body car, I think it needs something with either a little bit of lip on them or like concave spokes that flare out. These wheels don't have that. The fact that you had to put spacers on these wheels means that they're not technically wide enough for this car. So that tells me that you probably have some room to put some nice wide wheels on this thing. It might look really good. I like the idea of keeping it like a mesh wheel, but let's just take a look at, I got a wheel in mind that I think might look really good. So let's keep like the mesh face, the multi-spoke look. And what about something like VSXX from Work Wheels? See, this is like a similar kind of a design wheel, but we've got a nice big polished lip. And even if you want to keep the silver wheels, which I kind of think would be the right choice in my opinion, silver wheels with a polished lip are super underrated, and not enough people use them, because when they spend big money on aftermarket wheels, they want something that's gonna be like pow in your face to kind of warrant the money spent. And they don't want something that's gonna end up looking too subtle. But I think in some cases, it's the right thing to do. You know what? If I have time, I'm gonna make a rendering of what a different set of wheels would look like on this car. And if I can do it, I'm gonna put it on the screen now. And this is what it would look like. Change the wheels, put something wider on there with some big lips or some concave spokes, or if you have room, both. Moving on. Next up, we have Daniel, who has a Nissan Frontier Pro 4X. Great truck, by the way. But Daniel's truck has a problem, and until he fixes this, nothing else he does matters. Looks a little too stock and generic. You'd like to give it some life, so to speak, but still keeping it on a budget. Now, starting with the big problem, and I'm sure you guys can guess what it is that I'm getting at here. I don't know if this is a common spot for them to rust on these things or what's going on here, but it looks to me like the rest of the truck is essentially rust-free. And from what I've seen in pictures, it's just this one bedside. So you gotta fix it, because you could spend $10,000 on wheels and tires, or you could spend 50 hours polishing your paint to perfection. One glance at this truck with those rust marks on it, and it's gonna look like crap. You already have the light bar on there, you already did the tires. Stop right there, and before you do anything else in terms of appearance, focus on fixing this. I don't know if these Nissans are anything similar to the Tacomas, but I didn't have rust that I had to deal with on mine, but I did have a big dent. So I had to replace the whole bedside, but it was super easy. They just bolt on. So I just literally unbolted the old one, tossed it, and bolted a new one on. And I don't know if it's that easy on these Nissans or not. You know, I'm not a body guy, but I know from experience and just talking to friends and stuff that if you just patch up this rust and then repaint it, it's gonna pop back up somewhere else in maybe a couple of years. Once the panel is contaminated, it seems like there's no stopping it. There's a reason why they refer to rust as cancer. It spreads through the whole panel, even where you can't see it. I think your money is best spent on finding a junkyard bedside and just bolting the whole thing on. Sometimes you can get lucky, like I did, and get one the right color of your truck already, and you don't even have to deal with getting it painted or anything. Now, in terms of how could we make this truck look a little nicer, stand out a little more, but on a budget? There's a couple things that I think would be the easiest things to do that would have the biggest impact for you. Number one, tint these side front windows to match the rear ones. That is like one of the easiest ways to just make the overall appearance of your vehicle look more consistent. Because right now, it's like you have a dark window right here and then a light window right here. It's kind of similar to if you had like a silver door and a white door. It's just, it doesn't look right. Just do it dark enough to match the factory tint. Typically it's like 30%, maybe 20%. You don't have to go super dark. Another way to make this thing just look a little bit better would be to lift it. Either just doing some spacers on it, like a 1 or 2 inch spacer. Like, don't go extreme. You don't have to put like a drop bracket lift kit on this thing or something. Don't do that. That would only make it look worse. Just like an inch or 2 would really make it pop. If you do a set of like Bilstein 5100s, you can adjust where the spring perch is. There's like a clip that you can, there's like, I think 3 different settings of where you can put it. And you can get a little bit of lift out of just upgrading the shocks essentially and keeping the stock springs. So that's another kind of cost-effective way of doing it. You get an improved ride as well. And no matter what, you're gonna have to get it realigned. And I don't know what an alignment costs in your area these days, but just like everything else, that's gone up in price too. Friggin' everything, man. Do a little bit of detailing on it. Start with a really good deep cleaning, like a really good wash. Take the time, take a Sunday, get out there with whatever detailing equipment you've got. You do not need to spend thousands of dollars on all the stuff that you see in all these other stupid YouTube channels. Like this black plastic trim on the bumper here, if you restored this or even just like dressed it with something, that would make it pop a little bit more. And then you can kind of play off this whole white and black combo that you've got going here on a white truck. It doesn't take much to make this truck look good. Focus on building contrast. Dark trim, dark windows, dark tires, bright paint. That's really the name of the game here. Next up, we have Noah, who has a 2000 4Runner SR5 with the 5-speed. Love to see that. Let's take a quick look at it. Let me show you. It looks fairly stock, but let's read what Noah has to say about this. I'm 17 years old, scooped it up for $4,000. Score! 17-inch wheels from a 2019 SR5 4Runner wrapped in 31.5 BFG KO3s. The 5th gen wheels were another great choice. Who's yelling out there? Shut up. One question that I had is this it looks like it is the factory mounting of the license plate. It looks kind of cattywampus. See what I mean? It's not centered. What's going on here? I would take a good look at that and see what's going on there. Actually, looks like this trim piece is broken, so you might even just want to replace that. You did mention this rear bumper is pretty trashed. It's rusty, the chrome is falling off. You gotta get a whole new bumper for this thing for sure. But aside from that, the front bumper looks like it's okay. I would polish up the chrome just to get it really shiny again. Mother's has a chrome polish that's really easy to find. It's just off the shelf stuff. Stuff smells like sunscreen. Is it sunscreen in a different bottle? I don't know. But it works well on chrome. It's really easy to use. It's kind of like wax that you can just it'll kind of dry to a haze and you can buff it off. We use it like on our Harleys, on the exhaust pipes and stuff on our Harleys or on the wheels, and it works really good. Does a good job of just making the chrome pop a little bit more, and it's cheap. You mentioned that you've done the paint work that was needed. I'm not sure what was painted because these fender flares look fairly oxidized, and the paint overall is looking a little kind of dull, a little grayish. And I know for a fact that this factory black paint can polish up really nice. I would definitely recommend doing a paint enhancement at minimum on this truck. Whether you want to do a full paint correction, you can if you want to, but you know, you take it off-road by the looks of it, and I don't know if it's a good idea to try and make your paint perfect on a rig like this, because you are going to scratch it, you are going to get chips, you are going to, you know, have trees brush up against it. This 4Runner is a perfect candidate for a paint enhancement with an all-in-one polish. It'll make the paint look super glossy and super wet. An old truck like this, when it's really clean and really shiny, doesn't even need to be modified to really stand out. That's all it takes, is just make it look like it's in really good condition, like it's a time capsule, and it will break necks just like that. And the best way to do that on this thing, aside from fixing this damage here, is to polish this paint. There's a guy with a black 3rd gen just like yours. He had no prior detailing experience before this. He had never polished paint before. And so he just took what I told him to do and ran with it, and this is what his looks like. If you do what he did to this, it would look absolutely gorgeous. And you know what? Because you're 17 years old, and I feel like polishing the paint is all you need to really make it look amazing, I'm gonna hook you up with the Ultimate Gloss Guide course completely free. Check your email. Grab a polisher, grab an all-in-one polish, and get to work on this thing. And you gotta send me your results. I wanna see pictures of the transformation. Thank you for saving an old rig and keeping it on the road and looking after it, bringing it back to life. I mean, any loser can go out and buy a brand new one and finance it to the hills. It takes a special kind of person to keep the old ones on the road, so good for you, Noah. If you want me to critique your car, there'll be a link below in the description. If you like this video, you'll love this one, so watch it next.